Hi, I'm Cheema. So today I'm going to talk to you about getting to know your pension better. So I've written up some points here on the whiteboard here to talk through with you, and all these points are on my website there. So feel free to have a look in your own time. So getting to know your pension. Know your pension. So let's start off with the pension investment horizon. So what I mean by this is simply, if you're due to retire in 5 years, say you're 55 and you want to retire at 60, is your investment set up to perform optimally over 5 years? Or is it set up to perform optimally considering the market conditions, to perform optimally over a longer term, so say 10 years or 20 years? So clearly that's very key, a very key thing to understand about your pension. Do you know how legislative and regulatory changes will affect your pension? If not, you must. There are so many legislative and regulatory changes in the pension framework at the moment in the pipeline that will materially affect what you do with your pension. So again, that's a very important thing to understand when knowing your pension. Will market conditions change over time? Undoubtedly. Markets move very, very fast, especially these days with all the technology that we have. How is your pension set up in terms of the underlying investments, and how are they going to perform in changing market conditions? How much income do you need in retirement? Many people really only start to think about this in the last 5 years, or even three to 5 years, in the run-up to retirement. That's the wrong approach. The right approach is to, when you're setting up your pension, think about, okay, how much do I think I'm going to need? It's a difficult thing to actually quantify. How much do I think I'm going to need in retirement? Let's say you need £30,000 per year gross, so before tax. If you're aiming for that figure, then you have a target and you know how big a pension pot you'll need to achieve that 30,000 in retirement at your specified retirement age. Do you know the annual management charges on your pension? Annual management charges would encompass fund management fees, they would encompass the provider fees, and they may encompass trading costs as well. So do you know what that is? If you don't, you must know that. Do you know what the total expense ratio is? So the only difference between a total expense ratio and an annual management charge is the financial advisor's fee, if you use a financial advisor. So again, do you know what that is? Important to know, as these things can affect your pension's performance. What is your attitude to risk? That's what ATR stands for. Are you a 4 out of 10? Are you a 6 out of 10? What's your capacity for loss? Your attitude to risk and your capacity for loss can be very different. So you may want returns that are in line with a 6 out of 10 on the risk scale, but your capacity for loss in a worst case event, if the markets fell out of bed, may be very much lower. That's your tolerance for how much you could lose. And let's understand that, in most cases, the closer you are to retirement, the lower your capacity for loss will be. So your adjusted attitude to risk will be somewhere in the middle. Are there any penalties associated with your pension? Transfer penalties. If your pension isn't suitable, you may want to move it somewhere else to a suitable environment. Are there any penalties associated with doing that? If so, why? In this day and age, there really shouldn't be. Pensions, again, on penalties, staying on this point, they should be liquid. So, as liquid as they can be, obviously, because you can only draw a pension at 55 if it's a private pension. But what I mean by that is they can be moved from one fund to another or from one asset class to another without penalty. Very important in these fast-moving market conditions these days. Risk mapping. We talked about attitude to risk and capacity for loss just here. Is your pension risk mapped to a specific attitude to risk rating? So let's say, for example, you're a 4 out of 10. Will your pension move out of line with that 4 out of 10 and become a 6 or a 2 out of 10 over time, or will it remain in line with the 4 out of 10? So what that relates to is the volatility within the pension. So again, that's very important. It's a very good tool to have with a pension. And again, what are you invested in, and why? Why are you invested in what you're invested in? Your financial advisor should be able to explain that to you. Your pension should be diversified and risk managed. So there you have it. There are some key points to think about, food for thought, when getting to know your pension. Again, all these points are on my website, so feel free to have a browse if you want to find out more. Thanks for listening, and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions.